The Backrooms. Try not to get lost. Level 197. Crystal Caverns. Survival difficulty. Class variable. Mysterious properties, scarce information, sudden changes in environment. The Crystal Caverns is the 198th level of the Backrooms. It is a large cave system with an abundance of crystals that have various unique properties and effects. Description: Level 197 is an expansive crystal cave of undetermined size. Its walls are large and form a spacious cavern, with crystals hanging from the ceiling and growing from the ground. These crystals have anomalous properties that can affect wanderers in different ways, which can be either beneficial or dangerous, depending on the zone a wanderer is located in. There are currently 4 known zones in level 197, which have been named as follows: the turquoise zone, the amethyst zone, the ruby zone, and the onyx zone. Zones are sections of level 197 that are filled with different minerals. There have been rumors of zones that are made of other minerals, such as diamonds, emeralds, or topaz, but these claims are unverified. More information about the different zones can be found below. Due to the major differences between zones in level 197, every area has been given its own survival difficulty, BOC list, and entrances/exits list. Every zone will also have a new section labeled Zone Formation to inform wanderers of area geometry and possible spaces to avoid. Zone 1, the Turquoise Zone. Access information: 2134 underscore 01 dash November underscore previewing underscore latest underscore version. Survival difficulty: Class Zeta. Potentially safe, potentially secure, pending entity documentation. The turquoise zone is the area where a wanderer is most likely to appear upon entering level 197. This zone is abundant in turquoise crystals that possess a calming effect, which have caused wanderers to report feeling particularly relaxed, and was described to be, quote, as if they had just gotten home from a long day at work, end quote. The minerals can be removed from the ground and ceiling with relative ease, whilst maintaining the aforementioned calming effect. Image caption: a close-up image of a crystal found in Zone 1. Zone formation: the turquoise zone is very spacious. It has a width of 15 feet and a height of 17 feet, and is composed of a material comparable to diabase. The igneous rock does not break, and all tools used to try and harvest it have failed. There are no notable differences in the tunnels within Zone 1, and the walls are very smooth. All caverns in Zone 1 form in a rough cylindrical formation. Unlike the other zones, Zone 1 is structurally sound and has no weaknesses in any areas. If cracks are seen in the surface of Zone 1, then notify an operative at Meg Outpost Good Feels as soon as possible. Stalactites and stalagmites are common throughout Zone 1 and drip water at a consistently slow rate. Falling stalactites have not been reported as of yet, and all stalagmites are abnormally round and tipped with average heights of 11 inches to 4 feet. There are visible man-made smoothing marks on stalagmites, but who smoothed the rocks and when they were smoothed is unknown. The only change in the turquoise zone is a large space which has been called Meditation Cove. The space is reportedly somewhat difficult to find, and descriptions are tough to come by. It is said to have a massive turquoise geode in the center of the room, which has a 30-foot radius. The crystal in the center of the radius is estimated to be around 30 feet tall, and the large formation has other turquoise crystals growing out of it. The formation pours distilled water like a fountain and does not seem to stop. The room emits a heavy feeling of tranquility, and those who have walked inside state that they wanted to stay there as long as possible. Meditation Cove is theorized to be the origin of the entranced, but this cannot be confirmed. The crystals in the turquoise zone can grow in a wide range of sizes, with the smallest documented being around 3 feet by 1 foot, and the largest being around 5 inches by 4 inches. Very rarely, breaking turquoise off of the terrain of Zone 1 will cause distilled water to drip down from the bottom of the crystal and leak slowly from the place where it was removed. This water does not have any negative properties and is safe to drink. The water cannot leave level 197 like the crystals can, so it is recommended to drink the water before leaving. Footnote: it is still unclear as to why the distilled water from the crystals cannot leave level 197. End footnote. Zone 1 is relatively well lit thanks to the light generated by crystal bunches, which form on the ceiling or grow on the ground. It is highly recommended to gather as many turquoise crystals as possible, as they will help with Zone 3's dangerous environment. Entities. There have been 2 reports of a smiler spotted in Zone 1, but these reports are still unconfirmed. Meg operatives are advised to notify their commanding officer about any confirmed sightings. No other entities have been confirmed at this time. Bases, outposts, and communities. Meg, Major Explorer Group, Outpost Good Feels. Outpost Good Feels excavates turquoise crystals to deliver back to largely inhabited areas, such as Level 11, the Endless City, the Hub, and Level 901, the Industrial Powerhouse. Approximately 53 operatives are stationed in Zone 1 of Level 197. The outpost is located close to the entrance to Level 197 for easy access for Meg members. Meg operatives stationed at the outpost have permission to hand out gas masks to wanderers who do not have them and are entering Zone 2. If no gas masks are available, then Good Feels is allowed to let wanderers stay in or around the outpost until masks are delivered. The Entranced. The Entranced are a group of around 125 wanderers who refuse to leave Zone 1. They are entirely passive unless provoked. The Entranced seem to act like a hive mind or colony. As if one makes an action, then the rest make the same action. There is no confirmed leader to this group. Entrances and exits. Entrances. If an abrupt feeling of relaxation or calmness occurs in any level, look for where that feeling may be coming from. There will most likely be a dark doorway conforming to the level with a slight blue glow when looking for the source. Enter the darkened doorway and you will no-clip into Zone 1. As of the 13th of December, 2021, the most consistent way to enter level 197 is randomly no-clipping through the floor in level 210, the condos. Exits. Continuing down the lit path of Zone 1 will lead to Zone 2. There have been rumors of an unlit path in Zone 1 that can lead to level 108, Spire Complex, but this is still unconfirmed. Zone 2, the Amethyst Zone. Access information: 1134 19th of November previewing latest version. Survival difficulty: Class Dead Zone. Environmental hazards: strictly uninhabitable, low entity count. The Amethyst Zone is the second area that a wanderer will encounter. The zone is filled with a large quantity of lavender-scented amethyst, which can either be very helpful or very dangerous. The crystals emitting the smells have been known to soothe and relax anyone who comes into contact with it. But, on the other hand, they have also been documented to emit and infect wanderers with dangerous diseases that share similarities to various diseases from the front rooms, such as smallpox, Spanish flu, and in rare cases, the Black Death. Despite these similarities, these infections possess mutations that allow them to incubate much faster or manifest any symptoms far earlier than expected. With this, wanderers are advised to come prepared with almond water and gas masks if making prolonged trips to Level 2. When wanderers enter Zone 2, a wall of amethyst will slowly grow from the ground and ceiling of the entrance simultaneously, blocking re-entry to Zone 1. Escaping back to the turquoise zone is possible given the slow movement of the formation, and all wanderers who return will do so unharmed. If a wanderer turns around to continue exploring Zone 2 instead, the sound of shattering rocks and crystals will be heard behind them. When turning around, the tunnel that previously showed Zone 1 will now be a tunnel from the amethyst zone. This tunnel gets tighter as you continue, and eventually ends. The end of this tunnel has many airborne diseases, which can breach gas masks and kill wanderers in a matter of minutes. Continue the way you entered and do not attempt to go back. Image caption: a blurred image of Zone 2. Interference due to airborne pathogens. Zone formation. The formation of Zone 2 is drastically different than Zone 1. While the turquoise zone was cylindrical in form, Zone 2 is shaped haphazardly and can take any formation. The amethyst zone's size cannot be consistently determined, but the most commonly seen measurements are 7 feet high and 5 feet wide. The amethysts, however, are almost always grown in the dimensions of 6 inches by 1 inch. The material that Zone 2 is composed of is brittle diabase and can crumble easily if enough weight is applied. Footnote: stars, pentagons, and decagons have all been verified, just to name a few. On 05/16/18, the amethyst zone was discovered to be linear. A group of wanderers stood in a weak point, and all used makeshift pickaxes to break through the ground in Zone 2. The members fell about 10 feet, landing in another tunnel, and the wanderers claim to have been mining through the floor to see if there was anything underneath the ground. They state that their actions were motivated by pure curiosity, but have been taken into Meg custody for questioning. A Meg rescue team was sent to help 2 wanderers who had crippling injuries and reported that the walls of the cave were now graphite instead of the usual diabase, which the first layer of Zone 2 consisted of. Crystals in this layer were rare, entities were more aggressive, and rooms were larger than the first layer. When returning, 2 operatives were lost. Entities cannot seem to climb ropes that were lowered and are stuck in the second layer. It is not advised to enter the second layer without proper weaponry and a sizable party. It is unknown if there is a third layer, if there are infinite layers, or if there are more layers beyond the second layer at all. Tests will be conducted when a safe region in the second layer is established and secured. Entities. Zone 2 is host to entities such as smilers, death moths, shades, skin stealers, and occasionally bone thieves. These entities take shelter in pitch-black grooves and open areas, which are sporadically placed around the caverns. Said rooms can be found along paths throughout Zone 2, and can usually be seen before crossing the room due to the irregularity of the light given off at a nearby amethyst. If there are no gems near these rooms or grooves, then tossing a light source ahead of where the wanderer is standing can prove useful. If the wanderer does not have a light source, it is recommended to slowly walk past dangerous areas. These grooves harbor a large amount of entities, usually swarms of death moths. If the beings are awoken, they will rush out of the cave, trying to find what woke them. If a wanderer encounters an entity within Zone 2, then it is recommended to evade the entity, as entities from the amethyst zone carry high-stage diseases in their bloodstreams. Military-grade light sources can rarely be found in Zone 2. These chem lights, similar to glow sticks, can be found within small green containers, reminiscent to pouches on military rucksacks from the front rooms. These packs can only be found within open areas or grooves that entities are present in. Zone 2 is relatively darker compared to Zone 1, with less light being emitted by natural sources. Singular amethysts do emit light. However, the light emitted from these singular crystals is dim and is prone to fading in and out. It is highly recommended that wanderers bring a flashlight into this zone, as the distance between singular amethysts can grow considerably larger to the point where it becomes too dark to see. Bases, outposts, and communities. There are no known bases, outposts, or communities in Zone 2. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Zone 2 can be entered by following the lit path in Zone 1. Exits. Retreating through the slow moving amethyst blockade is possible and will result in safe passage back into Zone 1. Continuing through Zone 2 can take you into Zone 3. Zone 3, the Ruby Zone. Access information 2146 underscore 21 November underscore previewing underscore latest underscore version. Survival difficulty Class 4, unsafe, unsecure, high entity count. The Ruby Zone is the third zone of level 197 and is filled with rubies that glow at all times, bathing the cave in a thick red hue. The temperature within Zone 3 becomes quote unquote unbearably hot, as reported by wanderers exploring the zone. Some crystals along the walls are searing, and multiple wanderers have experienced fourth-degree burns from touching them. When wanderers break off cooled crystals from the walls, there is a high chance that they will leak liquid, similar to turquoise in the turquoise zone. However, the liquid coming from these crystal outcroppings are not portable, as rubies from Zone 3 will leak cashew water. It is highly advised to not touch or break any rubies from the surface of the area. Zone formation. The Ruby Zone has a consistent geometry of 10 feet high and 10 feet wide. Changes in height and direction are commonplace, as some inclines in Zone 3 have a steep angle of 83 degrees and may require climbing equipment. Crystals are known to grow on the surface of inclines and burn wanderers climbing, so it is highly advised to clear off crystals and check surfaces you are climbing before attempting. When exploring for long amounts of time, usually 1 to 2 hours, a wanderer may come across a room known as the Crimson Fortress. The Crimson Fortress is an enormous room with 4 bridge formations made out of obsidian that connect to a large square platform. The bridges, although only 1 inch thick, are sturdy enough to carry many people, and all extend an estimated 1,000 feet before reaching the center platform. The platform in the center of the room has an area of around 100,000 square feet, and is supported by seemingly nothing. It is not recommended for people to look down the cavern, as the bridges are around 4 feet wide, and looking down may cause vertigo, causing a wanderer to fall to their death. Footnote: all measurements are estimated, as the environment is too dangerous to get an exact measurement. End footnote. Image caption: the ceiling of Zone 3, taken from the Crimson Fortress through a high-definition camera. The Crimson Fortress has no determined height, although, with current estimates, seems to be around 700 feet tall. While named the Fortress, the crystal formation does not resemble a fortress from any time period on the exterior. Temperature works differently inside the fortress, as heat does not seem to radiate from the crystal walls, since they are surprisingly cold to the touch. This is theorized to be emitting from somewhere within the structure. Staircases and rooms are abundant, and in most rooms there are aggressive entities ready to assault unknowing wanderers. In few rooms, there are ruby chests that, when opened, may contain many useful materials that may help wanderers progress through the rest of Zone 3, such as cooling clothes or freezing cold bottles of almond water. Footnote: see below for more information on aggressive entities. End footnote. Exiting the Crimson Fortress is simple, as 4 gates accompany all sides of the crystal formation. When leaving a fortress, it is highly unlikely that you will see one again, so if you spot a Crimson Fortress, it is up to you to decide if you are prepared to take on the structure. Entities. Entities within Zone 3 are abundant and highly dangerous, harboring all entities from Zone 2, along with Reviux, Wretches, Ungoiatherzers, Crawlers, and the Disease. Entities can be found in grooves and open areas similar to Zone 2, but have also been spotted roaming the pathways of Zone 3. Zone 3 seems to have a psychological effect on all entities within it. When a wanderer is spotted by an entity that is actively roaming, the being will enter what is called an quote-unquote enraged state. and relentlessly chase a wanderer until caught, or until a turquoise crystal is seen. This is not a proven strategy for all entities, so it is highly recommended that when showing a turquoise crystal from Zone 1 to an enraged entity, that a wanderer pay attention to the emotional state of the entity chasing them. Once the entity slows and looks dazed, in a trance, or exhausted, then it is recommended that you quickly get away by running past it or in the opposite direction. Once using a crystal, it will start to shake and rattle. Drop the crystal and get away from it while escaping from the dazed entity. The crystal will lose all color and detonate, expelling sharp shards that can tear through flesh, bone, and even highly rated body armor. A group of wanderers reported that by looking at entities through a turquoise crystal, the entities showed less aggressive behavior towards them. This strategy appears to work on wretches and crawlers. However, the same method does not apply on any other entities and has been proven useless. Looking through turquoise crystals can also help see through the thick red hue. Bases, outposts, and communities. Due to the highly aggressive nature of entities within this area, there are no bases, outposts, or communities on Zone 3. Entrances and exits. Entrances. The only way to enter Zone 3 is to go through Zone 2. Exits. Currently, all probable exits of Zone 3 are deemed uncertain, as reports indicate different exits contradicting each other. Some have reported being able to exit to Level 8, cave systems, and finding their way back to Meg Outpost cave raiders. Others have reported hearing a buzz similar to that of the fluorescent lights present in Level 0, tutorial level, down an unlit tunnel, which, upon entered, will send any wanderers back to Level 0. As of now, it is unknown why these random exits exist, or how they manifest. Zone 4, the Onyx Zone. Access information: information underscore corrupted underscore previewing underscore latest underscore version. Information notice: all information regarding Zone 4 is currently subject to change and has not been finalized, and is only public due to an unknown party releasing it prematurely and without permission. Some of the details present in the following article have been confirmed. However, most details are still unconfirmed and are mere claims made by unknown wanderers. With such, we ask wanderers to be careful with this information. Survival difficulty. Class contested. Non-human. Entity superiority. Mysterious properties. Unknown information. The Onyx Zone is the most treacherous and difficult to reach area of level 197, and its existence is still unconfirmed and based solely off of alleged eyewitness interviews. The main staple of proof that Zone 4 exists is an onyx crystal that was retrieved by a wanderer. Zone 4 of level 197 is an expansive cavern of onyx crystals. The crystals are very sharp, with one wanderer reporting to have a deep gash on their palm from touching the tip of a crystal. Zone 4 is also thought to be almost pitch black, with barely any natural lighting being emitted from the crystals. It is also theorized, based on unconfirmed reports, that no technology works inside of the zone, including flashlights, cameras, night vision goggles, and even chem lights. Zone formation. Due to the lack of information on the Onyx Zone, no clear understanding of the area's geometry can be determined. The only known fact is the darkness in the level and that there are no inclines or declines. The following note was discovered on Outpost Good Feels on Zone 1, who delivered the note as unknown and who it was written by is also as elusive. The note has been translated below. This is a warning to Outpost Good Feels on Zone 1 of level 197. There is a fourth zone that exists. Heed my warning. I almost died from those damn crystals alone. Since you can hardly see, you need to use something protective on your hands to lightly touch the walls. Utilize your hearing, and see how close you are to a wall, almost like a bat's echolocation in a cave. If you hear more sound on your right, for example, that means you're too close to the left wall and need to move over. Another thing is that you need to keep moving. I don't know how to put it, but it's almost like something is near you. You can't see it, you can't hear it, so on and so forth. You can almost feel its aura near you. I don't know what it is, but the group I went with called it the Dark Sovereign. or just the Sovereign to keep it short. All 7 of us had a feeling that when the Sovereign came near, we had to submit to it. No one else from my exploration party survived. I figured out that when you kneel, bow, or show a sign of respect, it will dismiss you and almost vanish. Please, if you manage to find this level, do not try to rebel against the Sovereign. You'll vanish along with it. Since the Onyx Zone has not yet been confirmed to exist, any contents mentioned in the note and all threats mentioned above cannot be verified. Entities. The Dark Sovereign is an unconfirmed entity known only to be in the Onyx Zone. It is thought to be a spectral figure made of black smoke, and is said to have a dark black item floating above its head, signifying royalty. No other features are noticeable, save for 2 white dots that float with the Sovereign, which are presumed to be its eyes. Bases, outposts, and communities. No bases, outposts, or communities have been discovered or verified. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Since the zone itself has yet to be confirmed, no entrances are known as of now. Those who have supposedly exited Zone 4 claim that by going through dangerous parts of Zone 3, or by trying to run back to the entrance to Zone 2, one will end up in Zone 4. Exits. There have been no confirmed exits to Zone 4, but 3 wanderers claimed that they were sent to whatever level they wished upon exploring long enough. Update. New data detected. On the 14/16 of 04, May 22nd, the Meg discovered a new zone to level 197 with the help of the Eternal Repository. With this disclosure and the possibility to find more zones within level 197, a new document has been created to store new data. View the supplementary document here. The Backrooms. You've been here before. Level 197 Supplementary Document. Information Notice. With recent discoveries showing new zones within level 197, we have found it necessary to add a supplementary document to contain the newfound data. As new zones within level 197 are discovered, they will be added to this document and updated accordingly. Any and all groups of interest are welcomed to add Zone 1.1 Spelunclaustro. Access information 14/04/May_previewing_latest_version. This entry was recorded by the Internal Repository in accordance with the Major Explorer Group. All findings are credited to the data diggers, who unfortunately could not be recovered. Both SD classes will be used to convey the combined effects of this zone. Meg Survival Difficulty. Class Psi. Unsafe, unsecure, mental hazard. Eternal Repository Survival Difficulty. Low dangers, no GOI presence, extreme environmental danger. When walking through the turquoise zone, one may come across a change in color of the environment. The shades of all crystals will turn from a light cyan to a dark blue, and it is believed that one has now entered the sapphire zone, also known as Spelunclaustro, which is a mix of 2 known fears, the fear of caves and the fear of tight spaces. Zone formation. The Sapphire Zone is known to be very tight and claustrophobic, with many caverns being only a few feet in width and height. The terrain is speculated to change rapidly, going from a straight line to zigzag formations, and there are even a couple reports of it going at a steep decline into a darkened pit. Some may think that, with Keizo Nishimura's reports, note, see the tale An Encounter Longing, associated with Entity 297, the Dark Sovereign. This might be a consistent entrance to Zone 4. Wanderers who have entered this zone have reported heightened feelings of paranoia and stress, even when stating weeks or months prior that they do not have fears such as claustrophobia or spelunkophobia. Many who enter the caves are too scared to come out, or only walk a few feet in before turning and leaving. Rarely, wanderers have discovered small circular rooms that allow a breath of fresh air from the cramped tunnels. These circular rooms are around 10 feet in diameter, and do not have any crystals on their walls, save for a small bunch hanging from the cavern ceiling. those who have entered these rooms advise many that they are not to be trusted. Reports state that the floors of these rooms are not stable, and when carrying more than 2 people or an estimated 300 pounds, the floors will break and collapse. Below these floors are pits of sharp onyx crystals, and it is impossible to trek further unless bringing special equipment. No wanderers have survived the pitfall due to the severity of their injuries. Note, quote, "It is currently unknown how these black crystals are so sharp, or what causes their efficient killing properties. More research is required once we can find a reliable entrance to Zone 4. End quote. Senior Data Digger Jex. The sapphires themselves do not seem to have any special properties or effects. When analyzing these geodes up close, the only notable discrepancy was that rays of light inside the gem seem to, quote-unquote, fly around, as described by those who have inspected the rocks. When trying to examine the sapphire for closer inspection in another location, the gems proved difficult to remove. Currently, only shards or incomplete pieces of sapphires have been retrieved. Bases, outposts, and communities. Due to the environmental dangers and tight spaces of this zone, it is deemed uninhabitable by the repository. The Meg continues to look for a possible area of stable construction. Entrances and exits. Entrances. To enter this area, one must find a discoloration along their travel through the turquoise zone. Exits. The only known exit is to return the way one came. It is currently unknown if there is an exit by venturing further into the zone. Zone 4.1, the Quartz Zone. Access information? Error 403, forbidden. Survival difficulty. Class Row. Unsafe, secure, psionic hazard. The Onyx Zone is one shrouded in mystery, a home to an endless dark that forever veils the zone. A lone overlord. Note, see Entity 297, the Dark Sovereign, dwells there, leaving horrible, black scars upon all who enter. Though, even here, life finds a way to flourish. Find the blood, which seems to perpetually blossom, and enter the tranquil garden. Image caption. One of the many beautiful sights found within this zone, birthed from the Dark One's discarded ichor. Zone formation. Contrasting the previously mentioned Onyx Zone, the Quartz Zone takes form as a large, flourishing garden, primarily made of silica. This area is one of the smaller zones in level 197 and is an open space, around 40 square feet in general size, much more akin to a room rather than an actual zone. This section can be the most habitable if proper precautions are taken. Masses of quartz litter this zone and emit a soft, warm glow, illuminating their proximity. Upon the quartz entering a human's flesh, the human body will steadily transform into a stony substance, much like the very quartz that penetrated them. This process will take place over the course of 6 days, though the development takes place exponentially. As such, several quartz statues in a humanoid form with expressions of eternal agony are scattered throughout the zone. Wanderers entering this level will find themselves on the west side of the zone, in a small clearing devoid of any plant life. Small quartz growths attach themselves to wanderers as they enter, which may prohibit movement in some cases. Caution must be taken whilst removing the quartz, as cuts can be easily caused. Instances of Protea nitida are extremely common within this zone. Footnote, commonly called wagon tree, waboom, or blausuikerbos, end footnote, and demonstrates several abnormal properties, unlike those found in the front rooms. They seem to be able to telekinetically affect nearby clusters of quartz, though the method behind their ability to do so is currently unknown. Whenever a foolish wanderer attempts to make physical contact with a waboom, Quartz will suddenly launch itself at the hands of the victim, penetrating their flesh and causing deep wounds that may become lethal if untreated. Though they don't do this out of hate, they do this purely out of self defense. It's respectable, in a sense. Not even I can stand up for myself. All I do is hide in the shadows, waiting for wanderers to pass through the level, hoping they don't stumble upon me. Bases, outposts, and communities. Due to the slim chance of entry and environmental dangers present in the level, bases are hardly ever established within this zone, though a single human forever lives here. Korra is what I call him, though his true name has never been truly revealed. He seems to be in a state of homeostasis within the zone, and has had his physical form altered due to his prolonged exposure to the wagon trees present within this area. They almost seem to speak to him, whispering in his ears tales of the forsaken individuals who have fallen within the zone. The words moved him deeply, so he wished to put an end to the endless death caused by the crystals. So he gave himself to the blooming flowers, allowing them to take him over both mentally and physically. Maybe he is the only exit to the level. Perhaps the only true freedom is found within acceptance of those who give their heart to you. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Entry to this level can only be accessed after suffering an injury caused by the lone overlord. Following this, you shall slowly lose your sense of self, and then awaken within this domain. Exits. Exiting the level cannot be done through any normal means. One must give themselves to the level and reach equilibrium with their environment, in which Korra will offer you a pathway to level 8, cave systems, though we all know why Korra allows us such knowledge, right? Additional notes. Follow the Shepherd of Change. Free yourself from this mortal shell and bleed on our blossom. Eochag likpid kudapach echsilwufik du zwilk weke vidfad iodp edu urk berksa iodga dekuvg vfida broxel zliv dizidib doors broxu zul were yuraha ihu axyuk dekuj yaldib. Zone 5, the Emerald Zone. Access information 2005_04-May_previewing_latest_version. Survival difficulty Class 2E, Environmental, Safe, Unsecure, Non-Entity Hazards. The Emerald Zone was the 5th zone to be discovered. The zone is composed of brilliant green emeralds, which shine very slightly with an unnatural light. Wanderers have been observed on numerous occasions becoming entranced and staring at this light for upwards of 20 minutes in rare instances. The most important properties of these crystals are the radiation they emit and the mental effect they have on wanderers, both of which can cause moderate harm during prolonged exposure. The radiation emitted by crystals of the Emerald Zone is low enough to not be an immediate cause for concern. However, extended stays are expected to cause severe health complications later in life. The most notable property of the Emerald Zone is its mental effect, which causes selflessness and decreases feelings of greed and desire. This effect is incredibly potent in individuals who hold a greater amount of power, and those who tend to act in selfless manners, and is nearly unnoticeable in those who act with goodwill towards others or have particularly low self-esteem. The duration of this effect depends on the amount of time one spends in the Emerald Zone, with feelings of selflessness lingering far longer for those who have stayed for extended periods. Zone formation. The Emerald Zone takes the form of an immense labyrinth, with the organic and natural shapes of the crystals that line and form the walls bending to form tight tunnels and branching paths, indicative of deliberate design intended to confuse and misdirect wanderers. The reason for this layout is unknown. However, this layout can cause trips through the Emerald Zone to last far longer than planned and result in stronger effects than anticipated. On 07/19/19, a small group of wanderers attempted to use pickaxes to excavate portions of the zone and make access to it easier. This plan backfired immediately when the ceiling of the cavern caved in on them, killing all but one instantly. Upon a return trip to the area to investigate, the caved in location had reverted to how it was before, with no trace of the bodies or debris. All attempts for excavations in the Emerald Zone are strictly prohibited to prevent another similar incident. Bases, outposts, and communities. There are no known communities currently living in the Emerald Zone. The only known attempted community, created by a party of 5 people, failed after several days when all members refused to eat and subsequently left the zone to protest each other's refusal to do so. Entrances and exits. Entrances. The Emerald Zone can be entered by following small tunnels dotted with green crystals that occasionally appear within Zones 1 and 2, which then disappear when unobserved. Exits. At what is believed to be the center of the Emerald Zone, a hole in the ground leads to the Ruby Zone. Caution should be taken when descending into this hole, due to the height and the environmental conditions of both zones. Rusted doors can be found embedded in the walls of the Emerald Zone on rare occasions. Due to these crystal formations around them, these doors require significant force to open. Doing so successfully will lead to level 401. Choices. Any wanderer is free to add a cave that they discovered to this list at any time. As such, this narration, which was recorded on the 23rd of December, 2024, may be out of date. Please check the article to see if this is the case.